what are important elements to think of apart from the multi-CDN part, right? Just one, doing live events that are important to take into account as part of that. Can I start with you, Michael?
Sure, and you're absolutely right, pointing out that VOD streaming is not same at all as live streaming. That was correct before the CDNs existed, or the video was transmitted through CDNs, and it's correct still. I learned it that way. I came from a company that dealt with live streaming. We got acquired by a company that was specializes in VOD workflows, file-based workflows. So I think I have a good understanding of the big differences. And in live streaming, as you mentioned, there's just no room for mistake. If I have to choose like my top three differentiators from pure distribution perspective, one will be the latency. In VOD, there's no such thing as latency, scalability, and of course the quality assurance. How do you make sure that you're delivered the right quality of video? So to ensure that live streaming works smoothly, real-time monitoring is a key. In VOD, you can prepare the files, do the QC checks, and then real-time is less important. But you need to know exactly what is happening with the streams at every moment. If something starts going wrong, you need to catch that fast and fix it even faster. That's critical. So in terms of scalability, live events, especially sports, they can be huge and unpredictable spikes in viewership. Can start from 10 viewers, grow to 10,000, and maybe even 10 millions, and you don't know how many users you're going to have. So that means you need a really flexible setup, real-time performance measurements, and that can quickly identify those bottlenecks and do the switching decisions. Latency is the other one. I always go back to latency because I think it's critical in live streaming, especially for sports. And we have all experienced bad consumer experience situations where, in today information flows immediately. You get the news pop up on your phone right away when it's happening. You know exactly how the match ended even before you can see it. So our customers invest a lot of efforts in reducing their streaming latency and ensuring it stays low. And TAG is helping them to measure those latencies and make those decisions. TAG just recently rejoined the Streaming Video Technology Alliance, SVTA, to help with the identifying what the best methods of measuring latency in live streaming. The SVTA has published a number of papers on this subject. That was part of that work in the past. And soon we'll have a cloud-based test environment to test real live use cases for low latency streaming and measurement. And the last part is, as I said, is the content quality. The quality of the content itself, like not necessarily how it's being delivered, but the quality of the video, the audio, metadata that goes through the streaming platforms. So you need to make sure that this video stream gets your audience at the highest quality possible, without any delays or buffering, things like that. And that means, first of all, choosing the right formats, codecs, reducing the bitrate as much as possible without losing quality. And for that, you need the monitoring solution in place as well, right? So have the right tools with very practical and actionable KPIs is the key. For example, quality degrades. You want a monitoring tool that can tell you exactly what happened, point you in the right direction, and also help understand the root cause of that. Not just tell you, the quality dropped from 5 to 3. Okay, that's not very actionable. So you want some actionable KPIs and actionable alarms that will point you to where the problem is.
I completely agree with everything Michael said. But to put also outside of the video chain, or the direct video chain, you really also got to think about stampedes. There is, so I'll say there is nothing worse than the anger of a sports fan who isn't able to watch their content. Right? Maybe if you fail to publish Game of Thrones properly, there will be an issue, an equivalent, perhaps, passion. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that I think 99% of the time, if you can't watch the piece of VOD you want, you'll find something else. If you have decided the appointment to view is that game, you've got to deliver it. And one of the biggest challenges, you can get the CDN infrastructure lined up and you can get the video chain sorted, but stampedes on your APIs, stampedes of trying to get CDN links, stampedes of trying to get DRM licenses. If you have got people all clicking on the tile at the same time, or worse still, you have a glitch in the CDN and people rotate, or your system rotates synchronously. That, and if you haven't got the client set up right and it hasn't cached the DRM key, I've seen 40,000 requests in 2 seconds to the back end, in going from a baseline of less than 500. So that kind of ramp up, people talk about auto scaling. Auto scaling does not work most of the time, and that's a really generic statement, a broad statement, but you have to be really careful about auto scaling. But we have multiple regions located around the world, so that so that load can shift, traffic can shift. If something happens, are you maintaining that geographic diversity that you need, and keeping all your eggs in one basket? Usual problems. In order to maintain that reliability that we get in our head ends, we have 2 main head ends, 2 secondary, up to 1 or 2 secondary head ends, and a disaster recovery head end. By head end, I mean the encoder and packager and all that stuff. So that is a very high level of resilience, and all that needs to be monitored as well. So are you monitoring the level to the level which you need on that? And there's another element of do you want them to be coupled, or do you want them to be decoupled? How do you want to ensure that impact on one system doesn't have an impact on another?